Well, we're back here again with Josh. We have a guest with us as well, and we'll introduce her later on. But Josh, how are you today?
I'm doing great, Jay. Good to see you again.
Yeah, it is. It's been a little bit since we last talked, but hey, I got a quick question for you. Everybody's talking about house prices are about to rise, right? And what would you say is some of the factors that we're going to see that are going to come that are going to cause that to happen in 2024?
Right. And obviously, of course, we typically see prices increase in the spring. We've talked about that a lot recently. But coming into 2024, what we are seeing is we've had some very consistent population growth coming into Alberta, and of course, Edmonton and the Edmonton area is getting its fair share of that with new things coming on board, and a lot of that population migration is actually coming from other provinces. So, what I've got here to show you is that we have seen, like in the third quarter of this year, we saw over 17,000 people come to Alberta. And, on its own, maybe that number doesn't mean much. But if we take a look at the next one here that says for the last 5 quarters in a row, so that's the last 5 3-month windows, we've seen over 10,000 people every one of those quarters coming to Alberta. And that's something that's never happened before since records have been kept. So this is the highest level of new people to Alberta, most of which are coming from Ontario and BC. So it's not even international immigration, it's just from other provinces. It's the highest level of population increase that we've seen in a long time. And it's putting a lot of pressure not only on the rental market, but also on home prices because there's just not enough inventory. That's really what I think is going to drive a lot of the price increases over the coming year.
Yeah, totally. One thing that I've really had a lot of conversation with, people from different provinces, and they're shocked at our prices already. They're
Yeah.
used to paying so much more for so much less. They're just blown away by what they're paying here, right? So I think if they are coming from Ontario or BC, prices are relatively cheap to them, and they're happy to buy regardless of what the interest rate is doing. So that does make a lot of sense. So basically, we got this big pressure on our supply. And then that's maybe where Shannon from Alquinn Homes can step in and talk to us a little bit about, like, why is it that builders raise their prices and what causes them to have to raise their prices in this type of environment. So welcome here, Shannon, and look forward to having this conversation with you.
Thanks, Jay. Hi, Josh. Yeah,
Hi.
I think typically for us at Alquinn Homes, we see almost every spring there's always an influx of buyers. This year is going to be quite different, as Josh was explaining how many more people are coming into Canada. In the past couple of months, Jay, you're right, we've seen a lot of buyers come to Alquinn from BC and Ontario. So really what we're doing is we're revving up for this next year. Prices are going to increase, and that's just because of the supply demand chain that way, all the skilled laborers that we have coming on board. It really is a kind of for the builder, it is a fine balancing act to try to balance everything out, but really it's just a trickling effect of how the prices are going to rise just because of supply and demand.
Right. So you, as I understand, would have maybe the same skilled laborers that work for you, correct?
Yeah, well, for us here at Alquinn Homes for the last 12 years, we've always kept our same trades. We kind of stand by them. We have a good partnership with them. When it does come into having an influx of demand, we do kind of search out those new trades and making sure, but with that comes an increase of price with those skilled trades.
Right. So basically, the labor that you have is going to be a shortage just because they can't handle the new demand that you're going to experience.
Exactly.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And so that's what happens with materials as well. Then the amount of materials you're buying is increased, and you're not the only builder too in Edmonton and area. So everybody's doing that.
Yeah, right across the board, we see it. Just things that cost and the prices is just it basically is a higher cost. Just simply, just when we go to buy, even if we buy big bulk purchases, it's still an increased price that we're seeing.
Correct. Yeah. I know the other story that I've heard, and I'm sure you guys have experienced it as well, is like builders need a healthy profit margin. Healthy doesn't mean huge. It just means the business can survive. And I think, as I understand, the last little while, builders have been at an unsustainable margin. And I suspect that'll have, that little increase in margins gotta change the price a little bit as well.
Yeah, for sure. I think coming out of the last couple of years, the builders have had to really take a look at that and try to kind of work their way through it. And, probably for the last 2 years, the margin profit hasn't been as healthy as like a typical builder would want. So, that is going to be kind of coming around in the next year or two. That will just have to be part of the equation.
Sure. That makes a lot of sense. So my last question for you then, Shannon, is I've had this a lot from potential buyers. They're like, hey, I need to buy a new house, but if I buy it now, it's going to take you, 8-10 months to build the property? Something like
Correct.
that? Yeah. So what happens to their price? If they buy it today or tomorrow, like, does their price change, or can they expect that whatever, they negotiate or the final number is, it shouldn't really change that much?
No, really, like when you sign a contract with Alquinn Homes or any other builder, it should really be that your price is locked in so the homeowner knows what to expect down the line, meaning builder and the purchaser have agreed at a set price, and we go about our job of building you a home and you knowing what price you're going to pay for that.
Right. And so part of that is just because you've made a deal with your suppliers and your trades and they've agreed to build the house for that price. That price is locked in. So Josh, I guess my question comes to you then. If my buyer decides to go ahead and purchase a home, what happens to him? Like, does he have to pay like the interest rate now or when he closes, or what happens there?
Well, the truth is, when somebody is purchasing a brand new home and it's not ready for 8 or 10 or whatever months, in a rising rate environment, that can be kind of a scary thing, because not very many lenders will hold an interest rate for very long, beyond 4 months. And those that do have premiums on that. So people aren't necessarily interested in paying that premium. And over the last couple of years, when interest rates were increasing, it did make it hard on people buying new homes. But right now we're seeing the flip of that, right? With the expectation over the coming year of some pretty significant drops or discounting from today's mortgage rates. By buying something brand new that's not ready for 8 or 10 months, you actually have the advantage of locking in the price now before they come up over the springtime and into 2024. But at the same time, riding that interest rate down, because we only lock in the interest rate typically about 4 months before your possession date. So if you were to buy a home at November's average price of 467,000, put 10% down, right now you'd be looking at about 5.14 or so percent as a interest rate, and a monthly payment of around 25,000, a monthly payment of $2,550 per month. Over a 5-year period, you'd be paying about $104,000 of interest. But if we can lock in today's price, but not actually start making your mortgage payments until the summer or fall of 2024, if we were to see interest rates drop even just to 4.5%, we're going to see about $150-$160 reduction in the payment as a result of that lower rate. But we're also going to see almost $14,000 less interest that you would be paying over the 5 years. So you're getting the price in lower, potentially $30,000-$40,000 lower price than you would be paying if you were to wait to buy a home until the rates are lower. But you're also likely to experience a pretty significant savings in interest by not having to start your mortgage until 8 months or so from now. So overall, I would say that makes a lot of sense to try to get into something new now, as long as you're confident that nothing's going to change with your employment situation or anything that would maybe make it so you don't qualify at a later date for the mortgage. But then it allows you to get in at today's prices for the homes, but next year's interest rates for the mortgage.
Well, that's fantastic. So I guess that sounds like a really good strategy then. Basically, I guess we should start with Josh and Shannon at Alquinn, and we'll get you guys into your new home in 2024. Thanks you both for
And let me just
joining
add,
today.
like everything, we of course don't know the future. Maybe home prices don't go up, maybe interest rates don't go down. but these are kind of the best estimates and the best forecasts that we have available today. And so, like always, make sure you click on like for this video, subscribe to the channel for more updates from us, drop a comment. If there's some specific video content that you want to see us share with you, maybe drop that into the comments here on YouTube. And we definitely look forward to adding new content for you over the coming weeks and months. And stay safe out there, and Happy New Year.
Thanks.